I look at this cover art and I wonder, who the f*** are these guys? I mean, honestly, look at this. I mean, you got Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man. Then you got Reptile from Mortal Kombat. I don't know. You got Mr. Electricidad and Marvel's Bane, Marvel's Green Bane. I don't fucking know. This game is so weird, and let's get down to it. Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. It's a game. I mean, it came out during the era of superhero games when every franchise got its own fucking video game, and this one's a rather different take on this series. So the plot of the game is essentially there are these alien sci-fi style villains called the Imperfects invading the planet trying to kill and control your favorite Marvel heroes. That's a little dark, that's a little spooky. As you go along through the story mode, you get a whole collection of heroes and levels you can play through. And then once you play through the story enough, they give you the option to kill the heroes. Capture them? Kill them? I don't really know. The game's a little bit ambiguous whether or not you actually kill the superheroes or not with the Imperfects because of the way that it's written in the descriptions. I don't know. It's the game's gimmick, so let's just get through it. Now, the story to this game is very weird because it doesn't give you a lot of context to what the hell's going on in the story, and you're sort of like unraveling what's happening as you're playing as the characters. Shit just happens for like no real reason, and the game doesn't even tell you. I know there's a comic book series about this game specifically, and I haven't read those, so if you have, let me know if they're good. I don't really care to read it personally because I think the whole lore of this universe is a little weird. Specifically the story. So the story's quintessential protagonist, I'm assuming, it's really weird the way it's set up. She's essentially this lady named Paragon. She was a tribal Amazonian type woman, I guess, that got abducted by the Imperfects, and they're trying to create her, they're trying to make her the ultimate weapon, and she breaks out and yada yada. It's a whole thing. Honestly, the game tries to like make you feel bad for her, but it's hard to feel bad for her when she absolutely has no fucking personalities. And the ending of the story is really weird because, so what happens is you take Paragon and you fight the big bad guy, Niles Van Roku, I don't fucking know how you say his name. He's basically this alien Lex Luthor type figure that essentially he wants to recreate an army to do freedom fighting for his alien race that is being extinguished by another alien race. I don't know. The whole cutscene is like this weird acid trip, and it just looks all f***ing weird, and like gross PlayStation 2 graphics just don't look good. This game did not age well, I'll tell you that much. So Paragon kills Niles Van Rokel, tells her the lore, and she essentially becomes the new leader of the DK crew. Huh? That's it? There's also a PlayStation Portable version of this game too, which is actually a lot more fun. The game runs well, and it's a lot simpler. There's no extensive lore of the game that doesn't really make any sense, and it's really fun. Alright, so what's to say about the gameplay? It's very, chunky. And when I say chunky, I mean Campbell's chunky. So the game essentially has two different modes you play in. The one-on-one fighting mode and the beat-em-up style mode. And I'm going to tell you this right now, one of them works and the other doesn't. So the regular beat-em-up style levels is really weird and like hard to play because the game's engine barely runs the goddamn game and it lags like every 5 seconds if more than like 4 enemies attack you at once. I swear to God, most of these levels I was just sitting there waiting, trying to play the game while the game was actively trying to run because the optimization is not very good in this game. Also, they try to force these weird platforming segments, and this game does not work well platforming. It's just not built it. Everything feels like you're carrying 6 tons of bricks. It's just so fucking awful. Fighting bad guys can be fun. So when you're playing the story mode, there's essentially this gameplay loop where you have to go around each level, killing a certain amount of enemies, defending these dumb abstract objects, And that's pretty much it for the rest of the game. I mean, you do get to do these little one-on-one fights that are pretty cool. Also, not to mention, the damage scaling in this game is so fucking wonk and weird. Like some of these fights end up lasting way too long because you barely do enough damage, or the fights last way too short because the objects that you can throw do ass loads of damage. I also want to point out there's ring outs in this game, and the animations that play are really fucking goofy. This game also has very funny victory quotes like the Thing in Spider-Man's.
Look who just sprayed you with a can of whoop-ass.
Can of whoop-ass. Now that is absurd. The hell? Yeah, what the hell do you, Can of whoop-ass. Whoop-ass to the extreme. Honestly, this game is at its peak when you're playing with a friend. But when you're playing by yourself, it's kind of dull and kind of boring. The Imperfects designs are pretty interesting too. And I also like the fact that this game also gives them their own backstories with like this really gritty noir and sci-fi vibe to the backstory cutscenes. It's really interesting. My favorite ones have got to be The Wink and Johnny Ohm, baby. I like Johnny Ohm's wild and abrasive personality. Here's Johnny! Now, if you just take a look at The Wink for 1 second, you can see why I like her so much.
Boobies. Vaginas.
I also want to point out that the character selection screen is probably the funniest part of this game. Like Wolverine and Daredevil, they look like they're getting massive gonk. And then you take a look at Spider-Man and he looks like he just caught you getting a BJ. Fault Zone looks like she just got done giving a BJ. Iron Man looks like he just caught you looking into a stash of tentacle hentai. No! And the music in this game is pretty good. I mean, there's only one fucking track in this whole game. I hope you like it, because it's the only theme song you're really gonna hear throughout the whole fucking game. I really did try to keep my nostalgia goggles off for this game, because I grew up playing this game a lot when I was a kid, and, yeah, this game is better left off from when I was 7. Like, honestly, I think this game could have been better if it was put on the PS3 or the 360. I mean, this game came out in 2005. The PS3 and 360 were coming out like a year later. I mean, come on. Like, I feel like they could have waited a little bit longer, then release them on the higher-end consoles. I know EA is always looking for money, so I feel like this game could get a pretty good revival and you know, like a spiritual successor or some kind of sequel or some kind of revamped version of this game. I feel like this game has a lot of really cool ideas, but really bad execution. And I think that if they really just put it on a better hardware, I think it could have been a lot better. But, I mean, it is what it is, so, I mean, what are you gonna do?
You know what we call that? We call that a web-slinging, ass-kicking.
Oh, shit, he said ass!